country where winter can last half the year. Where distance is measured not in hours, but in days. Where scale itself shapes how life works. This is Russia, a system of vastness. Stretching from Europe deep into Asia, Russia is less a single landscape than a set of systems built to operate under pressure. Cold, isolation, and distance are not background conditions here. They are defining forces, shaping how cities were planned, how communities endured, and how power was organized. In Moscow, authority concentrates through scale and permanence. In St. Petersburg, culture becomes influence. Beyond the cities, Lake Baikal is preserved by depth rather than control. On Kizhi Island, wooden architecture survives through repetition and care. And at the Arctic edge, settlement exists where nature still sets the limits of daily life. Welcome to The Wandering Guy, where wandering turns into wonder. Moscow does not introduce itself gently. It asserts presence through scale. Broad avenues stretch outward from the center. Buildings rise heavy and deliberate. Distances feel engineered rather than accidental. From the beginning, the city communicates control. Geographically, Moscow sits far from coastlines and natural borders. It grew not as a port or a crossroads, but as an inland center designed to gather power inward. Rivers here are navigable but limited. The land does not offer natural defenses or easy trade routes. What Moscow developed instead was administrative gravity, a system that pulls people, resources, and decisions toward a single point. This logic shaped the city's form. The Kremlin sits at the core, not elevated dramatically, but enclosed, a fortified center around which the city expanded in rings. Roads, railways, and later metro lines radiate outward, reinforcing the idea that movement begins and ends here. Moscow was built to be returned to. Architecture reflects this purpose. Structures are solid, dense, and enduring. Stone replaces wood early. Ornament exists, but it is disciplined. Even in periods of stylistic change, the emphasis remains on permanence rather than lightness. Buildings are meant to last through winters, political shifts, and historical rupture. The Moscow Metro reveals this philosophy clearly. Built deep underground, it functions not only as transport, but as infrastructure designed for resilience. Stations are spaced far apart, lined with stone, metal, and light. They were intended to move large populations efficiently, but also to serve as shelter if required. Beauty here is not decorative. It reinforces authority and stability. Historically, Moscow's role expanded through centralization. As the Russian state grew, power was concentrated rather than distributed. Decision-making moved inward. Resources flowed toward the capital. This pattern intensified during the Soviet period, when planning emphasized scale, coordination, and visibility. Moscow became not just a city, but a control system. Yet daily life within Moscow is more complex than its image suggests. Neighborhoods operate at human scale. Courtyards sit behind dense facades. Markets, schools, and local transit create routines that soften the city's weight. People navigate the system with familiarity, adapting to distance rather than resisting it. Climate reinforces this behavior. Winters are long and severe. Movement becomes deliberate. Schedules matter. Infrastructure is trusted because it must be. Reliability here is not a preference, it is a requirement. Moscow functions because systems hold under pressure. Culturally, the city carries layers without fully resolving them. Imperial ambition, Soviet order, and contemporary life coexist without blending entirely. Churches stand beside administrative buildings. New developments rise near older districts. The city does not erase its past, it absorbs it. What distinguishes Moscow is not spectacle, but accumulation. Power accumulates, history accumulates, movement accumulates. Everything here is oriented toward endurance. This is not a place designed for pause, it is designed to continue. Moscow represents one response to scale. Concentrate it, manage it, and hold it together through structure. But Russia is not only defined by concentration. Beyond this center, the country unfolds differently, toward water, openness, and a city built to face outward rather than inward. From Moscow's inward gravity, the journey shifts toward a place shaped by exposure, culture, and deliberate orientation toward Europe, St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg was built to face outward. Where Moscow gathers inward, this city opens itself deliberately to water, to wind, and to Europe beyond the horizon. Founded on marshland at the edge of the Baltic Sea, St. Petersburg was an act of intention rather than convenience. The terrain was unstable, floods were frequent, winters were harsh. But its location mattered more than comfort. Rivers and canals connected the city directly to maritime routes, allowing Russia to project itself toward trade, diplomacy, and cultural exchange. Geography here was chosen, not inherited. The city's layout reflects this outward logic. Streets are wide and linear. Canals organize movement rather than obstruct it. Sightlines extend across water and open squares. Unlike Moscow's layered rings, St. Petersburg is structured for visibility and flow. Space feels planned to be seen. Architecture reinforces this orientation. Palaces, museums, and civic buildings line riverbanks and avenues, their facades facing outward rather than enclosing inward. Baroque and neoclassical styles dominate, emphasizing proportion, rhythm, and light. Even authority here appears performative, designed to be observed rather than contained. Water defines daily life. The Neva River cuts through the city, shaping neighborhoods and movement. Bridges open and close according to tides and shipping schedules. In summer, daylight stretches late into the night, softening edges and slowing routine. In winter, ice restricts movement again, reminding the city of its northern limits. St. Petersburg's role was never purely administrative. It functioned as a cultural and intellectual capital, drawing artists, writers, and thinkers into its open spaces. Knowledge here circulated differently, less controlled, more exposed. The city absorbed influence rather than filtering it. Yet this openness came with fragility. Flooding remains a risk. The city's foundations require constant maintenance. Stability here is not assumed, it is managed. Infrastructure works quietly to hold water at bay, reinforcing the idea that exposure must be balanced by control. Where Moscow concentrates power to endure pressure, St. Petersburg disperses it to communicate presence. These two cities define a tension that runs through Russia itself, between inward consolidation and outward projection. Beyond both capitals, however, Russia expands into spaces where neither concentration nor display defines survival. Far from administrative centers and architectural order, the land opens into scale and silence. From rivers and palaces shaped by intention, the journey moves toward a place shaped by time itself, Lake Baikal. Lake Baikal does not announce itself through size alone, though it holds more fresh water than any other lake on Earth. What defines Baikal is time. This is the oldest and deepest lake on the planet, formed over 25 million years ago along an active rift where the Earth's crust continues to pull apart. Located in southern Siberia, Baikal sits far from political centers and trade routes. Winters here are long and severe. Ice can reach more than a meter thick, turning the lake into a solid surface for months. Yet beneath that ice, water remains in constant motion. Baikal is not static, it is alive. The lake's depth, more than 1,600 meters, creates a unique ecosystem found nowhere else. Around 2/3 of its plant and animal species are endemic, including the Baikal seal, the only freshwater seal in the world. Life here evolved in isolation, adapting to extreme cold, depth, and clarity. The water is so pure that visibility can reach 40 meters in winter. Human presence around Baikal has always been limited. Settlements remain small and dispersed. Fishing, hunting, and seasonal travel shaped local life more than agriculture or trade. The lake imposed restraint. It offered resources, but only to those who learned patience and respect for cycles. Baikal also holds cultural weight. For indigenous communities, it is not simply a body of water, but a living entity. Stories, rituals, and taboos developed around its behavior. Even today, activity on the lake follows unwritten rules: where to travel, when to fish, when to stay away. Knowledge here is environmental before it is written. Modern infrastructure skirts the edges carefully. Rail lines and roads remain distant. Industrial development is tightly contested. The scale of Baikal discourages domination. Its depth resists exploitation. Control here is never complete. Where St. Petersburg was built to face the world, Baikal turns inward, not toward authority, but toward endurance. It represents Russia beyond cities and systems, where geography sets terms that cannot be negotiated. Yet even here, isolation is not total. Across the lake and beyond its forests, human history took another form, quieter, more contained, shaped by timber rather than stone. From Siberia's deep water and geological time, the journey continues to an island where faith and survival were built from wood alone. Kizhi Island. Kizhi Island appears modest at first glance. It is small, flat, and surrounded by open water at the northern edge of Lake Onega. There are no city walls, no dramatic terrain, no natural defences. What makes Kizhi remarkable is not where it sits, but how it was built, and why it endured. The island is best known for its wooden churches, constructed in the 18th century without the use of nails. Logs were cut, shaped, and locked together through precise joinery, allowing structures to flex with temperature and humidity rather than fracture. In a climate defined by long winters and constant freeze-thaw cycles, this was not aesthetic choice, it was engineering. The Church of the Transfiguration rises with 22 onion domes, all formed from wood and aspen shingles. Despite its complexity, the structure follows clear logic. Weight is distributed vertically, joints are layered, and repairs can be made section by section. Longevity here depended on understanding material limits, not overcoming them. Kizhi was never a political centre, it was a religious and communal one. Churches, bell towers, and homes formed a shared space where faith, labour, and daily survival overlapped. Timber was the primary resource available, and it shaped everything: architecture, tools, heating, even movement. Stone was scarce. Importing materials was impractical. Wood became permanence. Life on the island followed seasonal cycles. Construction, fishing, and maintenance occurred in narrow windows dictated by weather. Buildings were not static monuments, they required constant care. Roofs were replaced, logs were rotated. Preservation here was not passive, it was continuous work. What distinguishes Kizhi is restraint. Nothing is oversized, nothing is decorative without function. Even the most elaborate elements serve structural purpose. Beauty emerges from repetition, proportion, and durability rather than display. In contrast to Lake Baikal's geological scale, Kizhi represents human adaptation at a smaller, more precise level. Where Baikal demands distance and respect, Kizhi demands attention to material, to weather, to time. But Russia's northern story does not end in quiet endurance. Beyond forests and lakes, the land opens toward the Arctic, where exposure replaces enclosure and survival becomes uncertain again. From the sheltered timber structures of Kizhi, the journey moves north to a coastline shaped by cold, wind, and abandonment, the Arctic shore of Teriberka. Teriberka sits at the edge of the Barents Sea, far beyond the Arctic Circle. Here, the land does not shelter, it exposes. Wind moves freely across open tundra, temperatures remain low even in summer, and the sea defines both opportunity and risk. This is not a place shaped by gradual adaptation, it is shaped by endurance. Geographically, Teriberka occupies a narrow coastal strip where Arctic tundra meets the open ocean. The ground is thin, rocky, and often frozen beneath the surface. Vegetation is sparse and seasonal. Trees do not grow here. Shelter comes not from the land itself, but from how people position themselves against it. Orientation matters, distance matters, timing matters. For much of the 20th century, Teriberka functioned as a working Arctic settlement. Fishing fleets operated from its harbour, taking advantage of rich Barents Sea stocks. Cod, haddock, and other cold water species supported a local economy built around extraction, processing, and transport. People came north not for opportunity in the abstract, but for clearly defined work tied directly to the sea. Infrastructure followed necessity rather than comfort. Ports were built to withstand ice and storm surge. Housing blocks were constructed for efficiency and insulation, not aesthetics. Roads were minimal and practical, connecting only what needed to be connected. Life here demanded preparation. Supplies were planned months in advance. Repairs were constant. Failure to anticipate conditions carried immediate consequences. Daily routines reflected Arctic reality. Winter dominated the calendar. Darkness lasted for months. Storms could isolate the settlement for days at a time. In summer, light returned almost continuously, but temperatures remained low and weather unpredictable. Work schedules adjusted not to clocks, but to sea conditions and daylight. Survival depended on coordination, not speed. When industrial fishing declined and economic priorities shifted south, that system weakened. Changes in regulation, depletion of stocks, and centralization of industry reduced the viability of remote Arctic ports. Jobs disappeared faster than alternatives could emerge. Population fell sharply. Younger generations left first. Services followed. Buildings were abandoned not through catastrophe, but through attrition. Ships were left to rust along the shoreline. Processing facilities fell silent. Housing blocks emptied floor by floor. What remains is not a ghost town in the romantic sense, but a layered record of withdrawal. Teriberka does not dramatize collapse. It documents it, slowly, visibly, and without erasure. The Arctic landscape does not soften these traces, it preserves them. Cold slows decay. Wind strips surfaces of paint and insulation. Rust spreads, but structures remain recognizable. Abandoned objects do not disappear into vegetation. They remain exposed, fixed within a harsh but visually striking environment. The land records human presence with clarity, not sentiment. Yet life has not vanished entirely. A small population remains, tied to fishing, maintenance, and limited seasonal activity. Boats still leave the harbour. Nets are still repaired. Work continues, but on a different scale. The economy no longer supports growth, it supports persistence. In recent years, Teriberka has attracted new forms of attention. Filmmakers, photographers and travellers arrive drawn by the stark coastline, Arctic light, and sense of exposure. In winter, the northern lights appear. In summer, whales migrate along the coast. These natural cycles introduce a different rhythm, one that depends on seasonality rather than industry. Movement here is cautious and conditional. Roads are few, weather determines access. Travel plans remain flexible by necessity. Even visitors must adapt quickly to Arctic rules. The environment does not accommodate expectation. It sets limits and waits for compliance. Teriberka stands in contrast to the restraint of Kizhi and the depth of Lake Baikal. Where those places demonstrate continuity through care and protection, Teriberka reveals vulnerability. It shows what happens when human systems are no longer reinforced and when geography reasserts itself without negotiation. This vulnerability is not failure, it is information. Teriberka illustrates that adaptation does not guarantee permanence, only relevance within a given moment. When conditions shift, relevance must be renegotiated, or it fades. At the edge of the Arctic Ocean, Russia's scale becomes fully visible, not through monuments or cities, but through exposure, through distance, through what remains when support is removed. Teriberka does not ask to be restored, it asks to be understood. As a place where endurance was tested, systems were withdrawn, and the land continued unchanged. Across Russia, scale shifts constantly. Power concentrates in cities, culture accumulates through centuries. Nature stretches far beyond human systems, indifferent to ambition or memory. From Moscow's organized authority to St. Petersburg's designed elegance, from Baikal's ancient depth to Kizhi's crafted endurance, and finally to the exposed Arctic coast, Russia reveals itself not as a single story, but as a sequence of negotiations between control and distance, permanence and retreat. This is a country where history does not move in straight lines. It expands, contracts, settles, and withdraws, shaped as much by geography as by intention. To understand Russia is not to look for unity, but for scale, for the ways people learn to live within vastness, knowing that some forces can be organized, some preserved, and some only endured. And in that balance, between human design and natural limit, Russia continues to define itself.